Let's start on the DXY on the 4-hour time frame, and we are still within this corrective move. Here we had an initial impulsive move to the downside, are now in this corrective phase and are looking for price to finish the next impulsive move to the downside into these areas of interest here, or even the value area retesting the low. Considering there is Labor Day on Monday, I would not be surprised if the DXY is just creeping back up into more or less the 50% range of this last leg here before we see a reaction to the downside. But overall, on balance, I'm still leaning more towards US dollar shorts next week. Moving on to Euro US dollar, that's a fairly straightforward picture here on the 1-hour time frame. We are within this overall bigger continuation structure, had a nice impulsive move and are now forming a continuation in the middle of the run, more or less. So I'm looking here for price to come back, tapping the base one more time and then enter along in this area. Australian dollar, US dollar, again, very similar. We had a very nice run here. We tapped this area of interest to the left, had an impulsive move, then a correction, another impulsive move, and are now starting to stall, so accumulating a bit more volume. And I'm looking here for price to actually close this small gap to this base here for then a potential 1, 2, 3 and a long continuation. Euro Australian dollar, on the 4-hour time frame, we can see we tapped the high here. We had a very nice impulsive move, a small correction, another impulsive move, another correction, and are now forming a bigger correction here on top of this area of interest. There is a small liquidity area, so therefore we need clear price action confirmation before entering a short. This could actually be a 4-hour play. You can see here we are forming kind of an expanding structure into the low, and if price is showing some reaction here, retesting the high, I'm more than happy to enter a short in this area. Euro Canadian is in a very nice run here as well. We start on the 4-hour time frame. We had this 1, 2, 3 and into the high, an impulsive run, another bigger correction, and are now forming the next bigger correction on the area of interest here. But you can see here we trade through the low and not above the low. We still have more room to the downside, and sequence wise we had a small consolidation, a bigger one, and now the next larger one. So this all makes sense in terms of sequence, and therefore I'm looking to enter a short continuation in this area here. Euro pound on the 4-hour time frame, a similar picture. We are here, we actually did tap the high here. We have another 1, 2, 3. We have clearly bearish selling pressure here and finished the last candle actually quite strong. So I'm now looking for price to follow through on the lower time frame, followed by a smaller lower time frame bearish continuation to then continue the short to the downside. Pound Australian dollar, we had a nice initial run to the downside. Let's have a look on the daily time frame. You can see here we are still in a bearish momentum run, but we did lose some steam here. We ended on a fairly large wick here on Friday, and therefore we need a fairly good confirmation for the next leg to the downside. Right now it's still in a bearish run, so the minimum I need is a 4-hour entry here and a well-structured flag for a short continuation. Otherwise, after such a run you saw on the daily time frame, a slightly larger pullback is still within the cards. Pound New Zealand dollar, that's an interesting one. It's slightly conflicting on the daily time frame. You can see here it looks like we are now gaining some more momentum to the downside. It turned around in no man's land. So overall New Zealand dollar is still a bit more on the weaker side, and we ended on a wick. So this is clearly conflicting price action. Right now both is possible. So for me, if we get deliberate price action here, I'm here on the 1-hour time frame, and if we see something like that and price is forming a base here in form of a clear 3-touch structure, then I would entertain a long in this area. Definitely not a 2-touch structure. That would not be enough considering the positioning here. The better move would be we are breaking above and then see a smaller, lower time frame continuation in this area. Then we would know we are back into a bullish move. And on the other hand, we can also see that price taking some time here, forming a middle section and then forming something like that, a bear flag continuation. A larger one positioned in this area would then be a clear sign of the market that we are still in a downward, in a bearish move. And therefore, I would definitely change my bias and enter a short in this area. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar on the daily time frame. We can see here as well, the move is more or less finished. We had this an impulsive move to the upside. We had a bigger consolidation, another impulsive move into this liquidity area. Here we have a stronger area of interest just slightly above. So it would still make sense for price to continue to the upside. On the 1-hour time frame, we have some fairly clear areas. So this could be a potential base. And if we see price forming a structured, deliberate 1, 2, 3 bull flag continuation, then I would entertain a long for the next leg to the upside. And on the other hand, if we see price breaking impulsively below this area, and followed by a lower time frame bearish continuation, then yeah, I would take the sign of the market and look for short plays in this area. There would still be enough room to manage at least to this area of interest here, and therefore would make sense. New Zealand dollar Canadian, that's an interesting one. We start here on the 4-hour time frame. We can see here we had a very long corrective move here. We did not even tap this area of interest here. We left multiple gaps and then finally broke below. And we are now starting to form a bigger continuation pattern here just above or basically below this whole price action here. So I'm now looking for price to finish deliberate structure and would then enter a short in this area for the next leg to the downside. And Australian dollar yen, we are still kind of in an uptrend. You can see here on the daily time frame, it's not strong momentum, but we had this 1, 2, 3 bull flag. We still have gaps to fill actually to these next bigger areas of interest. So the long continuation would make sense. We then have this a running channel here, an ascending wedge, and we do know that they can also suddenly gain more momentum. So I'm now looking for price that this could be a potential base, closing this gap here and then intersect with the lower time frame uptrend. This is still a lower time frame. We are here on the H1 and would then entertain a long continuation. It's fairly clear if you turn it upside down. I inverse the chart here. It's much easier for me to see that, and we discussed that multiple times. These running channels, they tend to finish on a flat structure before they then drop out. And you can see here that would make sense in this regard. So yeah, that's it. That's my watch list for next week. See you next week. Bye-bye.